Here's the latest.
Oh, God.
And
I heard poorly rated Morning Joe speaks badly of me. Don't watch anymore. Then how come low IQ crazy Mika along with Psycho Joe came to Mar-a-Lago 3 nights in a row around New Year's Eve, insisted on joining me. She was bleeding badly from a facelift, so I said no.
Wow. Oy, oy, oy. This is from Trump.
So with healthcare and Russia and a travel ban, this is what the guy who's supposed to be running the country is tweeting about? This is what he's tweeting about?
Aren't you beaming with national pride?
It just makes him sound so ignorant. Like when you can't beat someone with a point or information, so you have to go to name calling. It's a race to the bottom and no one wins. I wouldn't have replied the way Mika did, though. She replied with a box of Cheerios, and it said "made for little hands," which, you know, I did laugh at. But then I moved on to the idea that, you know, let him hang himself. Let his words be the ugly ones, because that's not where you go. You don't go down. Like, keep the game high, as they say. As
they go low, you go high.
Because it doesn't make anyone look good. I would never compromise my integrity to play on his level.
I know, but the Democrats are always going high, and then he keeps winning.
There is a difference, though. Mika is not the president of the United States. Yeah, like, she's a commentator. She's being funny. He's supposed to be ideally, he's supposed to be above all of that. Yeah. And there have been many presidents, Republican and Democrat, President Obama, President Bush, I could go through the list, that get criticized by the media, and they don't act like this. This is embarrassing because other countries read this Twitter feed, and there's a lot of people out there that are defending his policies, and they look at this and they're like, come on,
well,
man.
you were yelling.
Come on.
I heard she was yelling in her dressing room, "Are you kidding me?" when they read her the tweet. And the thing that's terrible is that it's going to be in the National Archives.
Yeah, this
tweet.
This goes
in. It'll be in the library.
It's going to be in the.
It'll be in the presidential
library. But, you know, it's interesting that he talked about her facelift, because he had scalp reduction surgery in 1989, and he had waist and chin liposuction.
But, you know, so now we're doing exactly what he just did.
Yeah. I don't mind doing what he just did.
I know you don't mind.
No, I don't either.
You know, but the whole point. Well, but then your point is gone, because your point is you're the guy that's supposed to be running the country.
Out the hypocrisy.
I'm pointing out the hypocrisy that he wants to talk about a woman's plastic surgery, and he just did the same thing.
What about the fact that he's pointing out her IQ? He didn't even know Frederick Douglass wasn't dead.
Was dead.
That Frederick Douglass was dead, right? And that he doesn't even know how to spell tap. I mean, he's the one who's not that bright.
How do you look at your son Barron and say, like, typically a parent leads by example. The idea that you look at even your child and then children around our country, and you're saying it's okay to talk like that.
You want to be called by the moniker I will never call you by, because I will not bow down to somebody who should supposed to be leading my country. Supposedly, I should be looking to this person to see where I'm wrong about who you are. And this is what you're tweeting? Dude, you really need to get your act together.
No, but
you need to get your act together. You know?
He also talks about, you know, how the press, they're like, what's her name, Sanders, the Sanders Huckabee woman.
Oh, Huckabee.
She's carrying on about how the press is constantly on him. Well, this is the reason. He gives material on a daily basis to talk about. And they say, well, why don't you talk about his accomplishments?
He hasn't done
anything. Name him, too.
Yeah.
I mean, Neil Gorsuch, they keep saying the Supreme Court guy, but that was manipulated by Mitch McConnell, so that's not even an accomplishment. And now this immigration thing, let's see if that's an
that's what I'm trying to get to. He should be tweeting about the new travel ban, because people are having trouble figuring this out. Stay with me. The new guidelines say close family will be allowed in, but the definition is a bit sketchy. Parents and in-laws, yes. Grandparents, no. Sons and daughters-in-law, yes. Brothers and sister-in-law, no. So how do you define, if someone was raised by their grandparents, why wouldn't that count? See, I don't understand. This is insanity because you're making definitions for people's family who you don't know anything about. How do you know who is close family to somebody? This makes no sense.
Well, it's very confusing too, because what if someone doesn't have parents and they, like you're saying, was raised by their grandparents? I understand the intent, I think, is to not allow, if you're going to make restrictions, you can't have someone saying, well, I'm going to the United States to visit my grandparents, sisters, brothers, daughter, who I was close with. So they're trying to put some parameters. But I also realize what you're saying, that if you look at this, you don't know the dynamics of each individual family. Just because someone has parents may mean maybe they don't have a relationship with their parents at all, but they spent the last, 25 years with their grandparents. So I don't know how this is going to be implemented.
And they cut really
I'm not sure.
close. I mean, like I think they let step siblings, but not
step siblings, but not grandparents.
It doesn't make any sense, because no one knows who is in your family. No one knows what makes your family.
What's terrible is this is a U.S.-based regulation, right, or definition. And in the United States, I mean, 7% of children under the age of 18 live with their grandparents, were raised by their grandparents. I was helped raised by my grandparents. And so for this to be coming from the United States, when I have parents, but for this to be coming from the United States, which is, how we live here, I'm very surprised that they would.
Can I say a word about Canada? Because Canada does something completely different. First of all, they have twice the number of immigrants than we have. And since the 60s, the immigrants in Canada have been let in based on economic grounds. They've been evaluated on age, education, job skills, and their potential contributions to the national workforce, as opposed to race, religion, or ethnicity. As a result of that, half arrive with a college degree. And Canadian immigrants are more likely to own their own homes and are less likely to be living in poverty than immigrants in the United States. And 82% of Canadians think that immigration has a positive impact. Now, that is a different, I'm not saying, that's a strict rule. So they only allow people who are either very smart, very educated, and contribute
unless
Canada.
They are fleeing.
But what about refugees?
They have that also.
They have different rules for it, but it's better done.
See, I hear what you're saying, but if we tried to implement something like that, I guarantee you would have people coming out and saying that's discriminatory. You're only taking the best and the brightest. You're not taking people that have education. So I think what we're trying to do.
I'm just saying that this is working for Canada.
But I don't know that would be supported here.
If you're coming from a country that doesn't allow women to get educated, it becomes a little dicey. So there's a better way to do this. There just is. There's a better way to do it. And as I look at our audience, I know a whole bunch of y'all come from immigrants. Second and third generation. We're all, at the table too. So,